Mississippi State is ranked number 4 in the country. They swept their opening series, record crowds at Dudy Noble Field. The energy is back, expectations are rising, and honestly, it feels good, right? Here's the question I can't shake. Are we celebrating growth or are we overlooking the details that wins championships? Because good teams win in February, great teams fix things in February. And that's where this story gets interesting. This is Red Letters Rewind. Oh my God, Mississippi State ranked number 4 in the nation. How good does that feel? You know what? It's good to feel that way. It's good to be proud of a program so steeped in tradition, yet so few national championships. It's good to be proud. It's good to have those expectations. There's nothing wrong with being excited about the growth. And this weekend, our fans showed up. Let me tell you what. There were over 12,000 people there both on Friday night and Saturday for the doubleheader. And it's really impressive that fans just continue to show support for a program and for a stadium. They overpack it. They come standing room only. They're willing to sit out there. It's a party atmosphere in Starkville when you're at a baseball game, and it's really something to be excited about. And momentum this year really feels different, don't it? I mean, yeah, we had lots of expectations coming off of the national championship team in 21. I remember going into that season, I was really high on the team. It was really because of pitching, and pitching took a while to come around that year. But by the College World Series, man, those guys were dealing. You had Landon Sims just closing out everything. He was such a good piece of that team and such a good closer. It was really easy to be excited about that team going into the season. But this year, it kind of feels different. It feels alive again, but it's because we've got some new blood, some new energy into the program. You have O'Connor coming in. Coach O'Connor, he's set those expectations high. He's not shying away from them. He's brought in some other players from Virginia that are really looking to expand what Mississippi State has returning. And it's been a really neat thing to see in the opening weekend and how all those pieces fit together and how they were able to come and not only have a good pitching performance, but the hits came, some solid hits came in some really good places, and I'm really excited about where we're going. And so some offensive flashes that we had, of course, were some of the returning guys. You had Bryce Chance, and of course you had all the other players that were returning in the field. Um, did really good things behind the plate this weekend. Winning doesn't mean you're automatically sharp coming in, and I think that we saw that with some other players that came in, some high expectation. You had Till come in; he really struggled at the plate, and only let off. He only had one hit over the weekend, but you can really see those guys were kind of pressing a little bit. And I think they'll come around once they get used to the crowds, they get used to those expectations. We'll really see what this team is meant to be here in a couple of weeks. By the time SEC rolls around, need to be hitting it and humming because it doesn't get easy. They have a tough schedule ahead. There's a difference between being talented and being tight, and you could see a little bit of that both on the mound a little bit, but mainly behind the plate when trying to hit the ball. Had a really clean weekend defensively. Was really impressed by what we did in the field. Situational hitting, right? I really like the fact that situationally the hitters came through when they were really pressed, when things were on the line. You had players to step up and get a much needed hit in the time when they really needed it. SEC weekends will push for those details to be even more. We're not going to have many 5, 6, 7 run games come SEC weekend. It's just too deep. We play Auburn, we play LSU, we play Ole Miss, we play Vanderbilt, play Arkansas. All these teams, Texas A&M, all these teams are ranked. We play UCLA in a game here in a couple of weeks. We'll see, really get battle tested here next week when we play them. And then we start off strong. We have Arkansas. I think they're ranked. Let me see here. Arkansas currently ranked number 8 in the country in D1 baseball. We play LSU for Super Bowl all weekend. Huge game down there in Starkville. Love to be able to go to it, see a spring game, and catch us playing LSU. But yeah, they're ranked number 2 in the country. Texas is ranked number 3, and then Auburn number 9. I mean, it just doesn't stop. Tennessee we play, they're number 13. So it's not going to get easy when SEC play rolls around. So it's really good that Brian O'Connor is tinkering with the lineup a little bit, putting people in different places in the field, but more importantly behind the plate to see where it kind of makes sense. I think the pitching rotation is going to be pretty solid from your starters, but what are those back end look like? How many pitches are your starters going to be able to pitch and get to those long relievers? So winning without playing at your best shows the signs of great potential. Mississippi State didn't look their best. They didn't look the sharpest in their opening series win, but you know what? They were battle tested. They're going to be battle tested, and they're going to remember how they came through when they were tested. And you can see the depth in this team. You have players that can play multiple positions, especially in the outfield. I think Till will be kind of your solid starter there in center field. But what you're doing right and left field, you can change things up um, based on who you want behind the plate, based on who's performing better in the field. Bryce Chance has just been solid as a rock since he's been at Mississippi State. So having him in the outfield is kind of like solidifying everything. And he had a really good week behind the plate. He just puts the ball in play. Not quite like Jake Mangum, but the similar player. He's not going to hit you a lot of home runs. He has the power that he can if he gets a hold of one, but mainly he's just going to keep at bats alive. He's going to put balls in play. And then at first base, you have a good rotation between a new guy, Valinkas, and then Noah Sullivan is going to go over there and play first base. And as well as you have another new guy that's going to be able to, I can't remember his name, that's going to be able to come in there and really give you some time over at first base as well. Mississippi State's really struggled at catcher. The last couple of years just hasn't been there. Teams were just running at will on us. I really liked Highfield's approach at the plate, but he just his arm strength behind the plate and his ability to block balls up just wasn't really getting it done. So they tried him in outfield a little bit, didn't work out for him. So he's moved on. I think he's a good player. I think being a catcher is just not his best position. And then you can do a lot of things at second base and at shortstop, rotate 2 or 3 guys in there, kind of make sure you're defensively sound. So I really like where we are with our depth of the program. I really think it's going to prove to be a lot. When you hit these midweek games, you're able to try some things out. They played last night. They beat Troy. We got to see Jack Bauer for the first time last night, and I know everybody's excited about this guy. Left-hander coming in throwing 102, 103 miles an hour. I mean, those just don't come along every day. You can't teach that kind of power. What you can teach, and I think Justin Parker is going to do a great job with him, is he's going to get his control let him get his control under his belt. He's going to come. He was jacked up last night. He had a great first inning. Came in there and just boom, 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 struck out 3 guys, looked the part. Then you kind of saw the wildness a little bit when he came in the ninth and kind of let things get away from him. But that's going to be a freshman. I mean, he's coming in. He's never pitched in an SEC game. He's never pitched in college. So you're going to take your lumps a little bit. But it's great to be able to have that option to do here at the first of the season. And Troy's a good team. It's not like he was coming in there playing just some nobody. He came in facing some real hitters and some people with some power. And so it was good to see him come out and really compete and really challenge. You can really see that we have a team that's capable of doing a lot this year. It's a tough schedule. It's going to be a lot to ask for them to come out of the schedule with more than 18 or 19 SEC wins. But if we can handle our business in the non-conference and the preseason, so to say, then we're really in good shape if we can get to 15, 16 wins to be a host. And actually, depending on where those wins come, if they're backloaded, if we're really strong at the end of the year, we could be a national seed. And that's what you want, right? The easiest path to Omaha is being a national seed. If you can have those 2 weekends, get through that first weekend and be guaranteed a home weekend in super regionals, that's the fast pass to Omaha. And once you get to Omaha, it's about who's hot and where those matchups will lie. In 21, Mississippi State really, really benefited, and they were really hot there at the end of the year. They had their struggles in the non-conference, and they just continued to come along and to really improve throughout the year. And And I'm not going to say this team's going to struggle like that. I think this team's got more potential than that team. I think we have more pros on this team than we had. We'll see about the pitching. The pitching really carried that 21 team. I think we have the pitching to really do things. You know, Omaha isn't one in February. Omaha isn't one in April. But you know what? It's built in February. It's built in March. I think we have a good chance of having a clean defense, um, and a good offense, a great offense. Actually, I think they'll come along. But the gap between top five and Omaha is detail. How many teams have we seen ranked in the top five that don't make it to Omaha? They either get knocked out in a regional, they kind of struggle coming down the stretch, they peak early. And so it's really, really important that we continue to build, that we continue to figure out who our bullpen pieces are going to be, because we've got so many options. There's so many guys that are going to want to come in and compete. They really got to be disciplined and come in when they get their chance and not overpitch. I think a lot of that we saw in opening weekend with some of the pitchers out of the bullpen was they were over pitching a little bit. So they were losing the ball glove side, and they were coming across and kind of beating it in glove side a little bit too much, probably over pitching a little bit. Same with the hitters. You got to let the ball come to you. You can't be swinging for the fences every time you're out there. You have to really be patient at the plate, wait for your pitch, and I think that these guys will do it. I think that once they get calm, cool, and collected, they'll definitely see that. Championships teams don't wait to fix problems. And if there's one thing I know about Brian O'Connor, he is a guy that's going to be disciplined. He's going to come out and he's going to show that he is prepared. He's going to fix things as they go. That was one of the big things I heard in an interview with him. He wasn't talking about what they did wrong per se, but he was happy for the win. You always love a sweep, but you have to be willing to fix those things, right? So I think that we really are going to see that come to fruition. I think that this team is a very mature team. So I think that they're going to let the hype kind of slip away. I think that once the season gets into the grind, they're really going to show their true colors and show that they're not just about hype. They're not just about this new coach coming in and wanting to change everything. So to put the red letter sports behind it, I want to really tie this into leadership and faithfulness. So in Luke 6, verse 10, it says, faithful in a little, faithful in much, is kind of what it's talking about there. So the faithfulness in the small things, not looking too big too soon. Championships are built with quiet corrections, things that's done in the clubhouse, not things that's done in the public. The season film, as they're going through the season and watching film, the willingness to fix what nobody's tweeting about, that matters. And that's what really shows leadership. And I think this team has some solid leaders that can step up. And Brian O'Connor, his just overall demeanor just speaks with that calmness. Being willing to know that growth requires action, that humility sustains success. And I really do see that a lot in a lot of these players. They're not coming out looking for sound bites. I don't see a lot of tweets from them talking about anything, hyping themselves up. They're kind of leaving that to the talking heads per se to kind of talk the team up. And so I've been really impressed by the team to start off the season, especially from Brian O'Connor. He's been nothing but solid coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach in my opinion. He's already proved it. He's coming to Mississippi State to finish the job of his career and to finish the job what Mississippi State has been faithful to support, and that's to win championships. So let's switch gears a little bit. I got that baseball talk out of the way. Again, I'm super excited about baseball. But what about Mississippi State basketball? I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about basketball. We've got 3 weeks left. I think 5 or 6 games, depending on when you see this episode. But really have struggled coming down the stretch in the SEC play. The team struggled before SEC play, but you kind of thought that they would get their act together, and they just never did. It never came together for them. I feel really bad per se for Josh Hubbard. Josh Hubbard he's a exceptional basketball player. He is a generational talent. He will be on the Mount Rushmore of Mississippi State basketball players, maybe Mississippi State sports in general. The dude's got it. He's tried to carry this team on his back, and it's just hasn't worked out this year. Missed some pieces in the portal, and we'll talk more about the portal here in the coming weeks. Portal recruiting and how NIL works and all that kind of stuff. In my opinion, it just doesn't fit Mississippi State the way that it's being run today. I know you got to use the portal, but you can't use it to completely turn over your roster. You had Sean Jones, who was kind of your sixth man last year, coming back, and then Josh Hubbard, and you replaced everybody else. Keyshawn Murphy left. You had Michael Nwoku went down to LSU, having a decent year down there. And those kind of things just killed the momentum that Mississippi State had built over the past 3 years. Three straight NCAA tournaments, and you really liked where the program was heading, and you thought they added some good pieces. But in the end, the SEC just exposed the team. They weren't able to keep up. The season showed where growth was needed, and the team just never really grew. They never came together. They never found that secondary scoring option outside of Josh Hubbard. And more importantly, we got beat in some really, really high-scoring games. And if I know anything about Chris Jans, at least I think I know about Chris Jans, is he really wants to be a defensive-minded team. And maybe having Hubbard out there as a star has kind of altered that a little bit. But at the end of the day, that's what got us where we are, is being a hard-nosed defensive team under Chris Jans. And this team just really wasn't there. They let teams score way too many points on them. I think back about the Alabama and a few other games. The first Ole Miss game got out of hand a little bit, and we just couldn't keep up. And so that's really where we are for Mississippi State basketball. I kind of stopped really paying close attention and watching all the games here a couple of weeks ago when they blew a couple of early leads. They got out to a couple of leads with double-digit points in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game, and they ended up losing by double-digit points. And to have just a 20-point or more turnaround, it's really, really tough to get behind a team that doesn't finish and doesn't live up to what their true expectations to themselves are. I know that those players have high expectations of themselves, and I think that what they did on the court really just didn't live up to those expectations they have for themselves. So bringing it back to baseball, let's close out with something positive, right? We should be excited. Now, we have a good baseball team. We have a great baseball coach, a Hall of Fame coach. So the best teams I've ever watched in any sport had one thing in common. They stayed hungry throughout the season. I'm going to go back to that 21 national championship team. I can go back to the 2016 College World Series team that made it to the final week. Those teams stayed hungry. They weren't satisfied with a sweep over Ole Miss or Alabama. They weren't satisfied with going to the SEC tournament and having a good showing. They stayed committed to the cause. But let's hold that standard. Let's be committed. As fans, let's be committed. Let's celebrate. Let's continue to fill that stadium up. I have no doubt Mississippi State fans will do that. If I can get over there to a game or two this season, I will. Super Bowl weekend would be nice, but it is going to be packed. I would imagine that they're not going to turn anybody away at the gate, and it'll be a packed season, a packed crowd that day especially, because LSU's a really good team this year too. And in my opinion, those are probably the top 2 teams in the country. Mississippi State's got to prove it. They've got to put some stuff together. But LSU's solid. UCLA's solid. Texas, we got to play Texas. And Texas is a solid team. So we'll see how the season plays out. But I don't have anything to worry about Mississippi State fans. They love their baseball. They love Dudy Noble. And they're going to love this season. Let's do this. Hell State. So if you've enjoyed this episode and you're still here, still hanging around for my talk, I would really appreciate a subscribe and a follow. You can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Red Letter Sports, as well as YouTube here. So, just follow me, give me a subscribe and follow. And until next time, this is Red Letters Rewind.